The moment my wife's best friend pulled me into the dark corner beside the security camera, I thought my life was about to fall apart. Her fingers tightened around my wrist as she looked toward the hallway to make sure no one was watching. Then she leaned closer and whispered the words that froze my blood, "I've been waiting for this." For a few seconds, I couldn't move. The music from the party continued behind us, glasses clinked, people laughed, and somewhere in the house my wife was probably telling our friends another story about how we had survived 10 difficult years together. But there I stood in the shadows with the one person I had always trusted around her. And suddenly, I realized that the hardest part of betrayal isn't discovering that someone wants to hurt you. It's discovering that the person standing beside you may have been hiding the truth for years. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of people choosing honesty even when it hurts, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to you. My name is Daniel, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had been lucky. My wife, Emily, was the woman I met when we were both young and struggling to build a future. We didn't have money, a beautiful house, or perfect careers. What we had was each other. We rented a tiny apartment where the heating barely worked in winter, ate cheap dinners at our kitchen table, and dreamed about the day we could finally afford a home of our own. Emily's best friend, Sarah, had been there almost from the beginning. She attended our wedding, helped Emily choose her dress, cried during our vows, and became so close to our family that I eventually stopped thinking of her as a friend and started thinking of her as family. She knew our history. She knew our struggles. She knew every scar we carried from the years when life had been difficult. That was why what happened at the anniversary party felt impossible. Emily had organized the gathering at our home to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. Friends and relatives filled the house, photographs covered the walls, and warm yellow lights made everything look almost unreal. Emily wore a green dress that reminded me of the first evening we had gone out together. I watched her from across the room and felt a strange mixture of love and sadness. We had been distant lately. Not because we hated each other. Somehow, that would have been easier. We had simply become tired. Work, bills, responsibilities, family problems, and years of putting everyone else first had slowly created a distance between us. We still said, "I love you," but sometimes those words sounded more like memories than promises. Sarah noticed it too. Earlier that evening, she had approached me while Emily was speaking with her parents. She asked if I was okay. I smiled and told her I was fine. She stared at me for a moment and said she knew I wasn't. I laughed nervously and walked away. Later, while everyone was gathering near the dining room, I stepped into the hallway to get some fresh air. That was when Sarah suddenly appeared behind me. She grabbed my wrist. I turned around, confused. She pulled me toward the narrow area beside the staircase, directly beneath a security camera. But because of the angle, the camera couldn't see the small corner where we stood. Then she said those words. "I've been waiting for this." My heart began pounding. I immediately pulled my hand away and asked what she meant. Sarah looked at me with tears in her eyes. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't flirting. She looked terrified. Then she reached into her purse and handed me an envelope. Inside was a stack of printed photographs. My hands shook as I looked through them. They showed Emily meeting with a man I didn't recognize. Again and again. Restaurants. Parking lots. A hotel lobby. A hospital corridor. My first thought was betrayal. My second was rage. My third was something much worse, fear. Sarah told me she had discovered the photographs several weeks earlier. The man was connected to a private investigator Emily had hired. But she wasn't investigating me. She was investigating someone else. Before I could understand, Sarah explained that Emily had been secretly trying to uncover financial fraud involving a business partner I had trusted for years. Money had been disappearing from our joint investments, and someone had been using my name to approve transactions. I stared at her, unable to breathe. The photographs weren't evidence of an affair. They were evidence of a secret Emily had been carrying alone. And Sarah had known. For weeks, she had watched Emily destroy herself trying to protect me because Emily was terrified that if she told me too soon, I would confront the wrong person and make everything worse. But there was one more secret. Sarah had been the one who convinced Emily to investigate. She had seen the suspicious transactions first. And she had been waiting for the right moment to give me everything. That moment had come because the man behind the fraud had just arrived at our anniversary party. I looked toward the living room. There he was. My business partner, Michael. He was laughing beside Emily's father, holding a glass of champagne as though nothing in the world was wrong. My stomach turned. Sarah whispered that the evidence was saved in multiple places, including a recording that would prove Michael had manipulated the accounts. Then suddenly the hallway lights flickered. Emily appeared at the end of the corridor. She saw me holding the envelope. Her face went completely pale. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Emily walked toward me with tears already filling her eyes. She apologized. Not for cheating. Not for falling out of love. She apologized for trying to carry the entire burden alone. She told me she had been afraid. She had watched me work 12-hour days to keep our family stable, and she couldn't bear the thought of destroying me with another problem. I wanted to be angry. Part of me was angry. But then I saw her hands trembling. This was the woman who had once shared her last piece of bread with me. The woman who had stayed beside me when I had nothing. The woman who had quietly sold her grandmother's necklace years ago to help pay my medical bills. And suddenly I understood something painful. Sometimes people don't keep secrets because they don't love you. Sometimes they keep secrets because they love you so much that they become convinced they have to protect you from the truth. We confronted Michael that night. The evidence was undeniable. The police were eventually called, the financial records were recovered, and the betrayal inside the company became a legal battle that lasted months. But the most important battle wasn't happening in a courtroom. It was happening inside our marriage. Emily and I finally sat down one evening at the same tiny kitchen table where we had eaten cheap dinners 10 years earlier. There were no cameras. No guests. No secrets. Just two exhausted people who had nearly forgotten how to talk to each other. We admitted that we had both been lonely. We admitted that we had stopped asking important questions. We admitted that we had confused surviving together with actually living together. And then something unexpected happened. We started over. Not with a grand vacation or expensive gifts. We started with breakfast. With walks. With honest conversations. With saying, "I'm scared," instead of pretending everything was fine. Sarah remained part of our lives, but our relationship with her changed too. She apologized for keeping the secret, and I forgave her because I finally understood why she had done it. A year later, Emily and I returned to that same hallway. The security camera was still there. I looked at the blind spot where everything had changed and smiled. Emily took my hand. She told me that night had been the moment she realized secrets, even protective ones, could destroy the people we were trying to save. And I told her that sometimes love isn't about never making mistakes. Sometimes love is about having the courage to come back after the mistake has been made. If this story touched your heart, please support the video with a like, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes one story can remind us that honesty, forgiveness, and a second chance are worth more than anything money can buy. And before you leave, comment, "Second chances matter," if you believe that people who truly love each other can find their way back, even after life forces them through the darkest moments. Because in the end, Daniel didn't discover that his marriage was perfect. He discovered something far more valuable. It was worth saving.